I ran across a Peanuts cartoon this past week. It shows Linus running across the beach to Charlie Brown saying, "I can swim, I can swim." And Charlie Brown congratulates Linus. And then Linus says, "Yes, Charlie, if I'm ever aboard an ocean liner and it sinks 4 feet from the shore, I won't have a thing to worry about." Today's gospel speaks of fear and doubts, doesn't it, my friends? Is there much fear and doubts in our society today? There's an interesting correlation that I read this past week. In 1975, the most popular dog in America was a poodle. There was 140,000 poodles in America. There were 952 Rottweilers. In 1995, 20 years later, there were 60,000 poodles and 102,000 Rottweilers. 100-fold increase of Rottweilers. People were afraid and they wanted a bigger dog. Isn't that amazing? I don't know what Bridget would do with a Rottweiler around. How do we deal with it, my friends? How do you deal with it? Something that's ingrained as fear and doubts that are formed within many of us. Zig Ziglar tells a wonderful story about the Winter Olympics in 2002. And you may remember them. There were 2 Americans, Sarah Hughes and Michelle Kwan, K-W-A-N, who was the heavily favorite. And Sarah Hughes was lucky to even make the Olympics, let alone her chances of medaling were really, really obscure. In any event, Sarah stepped on the ice that day, and she said, "You know, I have nothing to lose." And she didn't care what the audience, how they responded, didn't care about the judges. She knew she'd be on TV, was unconcerned. She said she skated with complete abandonment. Complete abandonment. Michelle Kwan, who was the next skater, watched her performance and was flawless. And Michelle Kwan got on the ice, and one thing was on her mind. You know what it was? I can't fall. I can't fall. What do you think happened? What do you think happened? She fell. She fell. Who do you think won the gold medal? Sarah Hughes. And Michelle Kwan won the bronze. It's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing what our minds can do. And we fill our minds with worry, we fill our minds with fears and doubts, my friends, and it permeates our lives. And it's interesting, Norman Vincent Peale, and this is really what changed his ministry. He was known as a man of positive thinking and things like that. He was speaking to 1,000 people early in his ministry, and he was so worried about it, he developed laryngitis. And he went to the doctors, and the doctor said to him, "I didn't think I would ever give this advice to you, Norman," he said. He said, "But you've been focusing on your audience the entire week." He said, "Why don't you focus on your talk and focus on your God?" He said, "Your nervous system tightened up so your blood doesn't flow harmoniously. And as a result, you got sick because of your worry." He said, "If you would have focused on your talk, it wouldn't have happened." And that little scenario, my friends, changed Norman Vincent Peale to positive thinking, and he refused to let that happen. How does it happen? What happened here in the gospel? Is that dialogue? We've seen it many times. Jesus said, or St. Peter said, "Is that you, Jesus?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "If it's you, walk on the water." So Jesus invites him to the water, and he's walking on water, and then what happened? What happened? He started recognizing what? The wind and the waves. And then he started to sink. You see, my friends, This is how it works. This is the whole scenario of how prayer works in this gospel. We come to church, we're so consumed with our doubts and our worries. Let them churn through our minds. So during Mass, we're completely distracted about our fears, our worries, our concerns, and we're all filled with those. And we leave Mass with the same concerns, worries, and doubts, right? Why wouldn't we? We've been consumed with them coming in, we've been consumed with them during Mass, and we leave with them. You see, my friends, we need to focus on what's going on in the Mass, get our thoughts away from that, and that's when God enters into our life. And it's the same with prayers. When we do our prayers each day, we need to focus on our prayers, leave those alone. And that's how God can get into our life. It's amazing what happens, my friends, when we can focus on what's going on here, then you leave, and you'll be stronger because of it. It's a beautiful scenario, my friends. There was a priest that was riding the trains in England, and he said, he was watching this little 6-year-old girl, and she was bouncing she was just having the best time talking to all these strangers in the train, in that little cabin where they were at. And he said, you've never seen a girl so vibrant and so unafraid to approach strangers. And everybody in the train loved this little girl. All of a sudden, this train starts going into a tunnel. So it got much darker. So there's just a little overhead lights, and that was it. So the cabin itself got much darker. What'd that little girl do? She ran right back to the back of the train and into the arms of her father. My friends, and I thought, that's what we need to do for our fears and our worries. We need to learn who to turn to. We need to learn who to turn to, right? And that's what Jesus is telling St. Peter. You're so concerned with the wind, you're so concerned with the waves, and you start to sink. Why don't you focus on someone who can help you, and you'll be able to walk back on water, right? That's what prayer and our faith does, my friends. We need to focus on the one who can help us. And so this week, my friends, is that beautiful line. Jesus stretched out his hand and caught Peter. May that be our prayer this week, my friends. May he stretch out his hand and touch our lives as well. God bless you.